Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Headbanger's Closet. Hope everyone's doing well. For this video, I want to take a little stroll down memory lane way back to the early 80s when I first got into heavy metal. I was hanging out with some friends of mine recently that went and saw the Wasp Armored Saint tour in Philadelphia. I saw it down here in Atlanta, and we started talking about that tour and how all these 80s hair and glam metal bands that we grew up watching on MTV, there was a time when they kind of were put on the back burner and you really couldn't admit that you liked them, back, like in the 90s, I guess it was, early 2000s. But they've always been there. The music's always been great, popping the CD or whatever, in 1997. And, Wasp's debut record from 84 still sounds awesome. But like I said, you really there was a certain time you couldn't really admit that. But we got to talking and we were just kind of, discussing how great these 80s bands were and, how a lot of them are still going strong today. I mean, look what Motley Crue, Def Leppard, and Poison did this summer, selling out football stadiums all throughout North America. I mean, the love of these bands is still there. And, I'm working on a new project to put out there, hopefully in the next couple months. It'll kind of be in conjunction with this channel and my Instagram page, just kind of something a little bit different, and doing it with some other people. These guys I was hanging out with in particular. So hopefully that'll come out soon, and we're looking forward to doing it, but it's pretty cool. But because we were talking about that, I started thinking to myself, what were the records I was listening to way back in the day when I first got into heavy metal? What were the bands I was into? So I want to do this video, and it's kind of going to be the first in a series of albums that kind of shaped me as a metal fan. I got into metal back in the 80s with MTV. And then I kind of went from the hair bands to thrash metal bands to death metal bands, and almost, not all subgenres of metal, but almost. And I still love them all. Everything from, Dokken to Sepultura and pretty much everything in between, right? I just love it all for the most part. There are, like I said, there are a few recent subgenres I think are complete garbage, but I'm not going to get into that. So if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you might have seen my Motley Crue Shout at the Devil, Origins of Heavy Metal story. I'll try to put a link to that video down below. If you've been watching this channel, I'm probably going to forget to do that. But I want to show you guys some of the records that I picked up as a kid. I had a lot of cassettes as a kid, but I did have a handful of records. A couple of them I'm going to show you guys. But these are the records I was listening to in the beginning in early 80s, watching MTV. And we'll call this one like the early years. Like when I first got into metal was 1984 and like 83, 84. And we'll go to like 85 because there's a lot of cool albums that came out in 86, 87. I kind of want to do like a second part to this. So kind of get started here pretty quick. So the first video I remember seeing was Kiss's Heaven's on Fire, which I thought was pretty cool. And there was a few others. I was a big MTV guy. Like I said, I was a latchkey generation kid. So I'd come home from school. My mom would be at work. It'd be like 2:30. I'd have 3 hours to kill before my mom would get home, so I'd get the hidden key, unlock the door, watch an hour or so of MTV. My friends would come over, we'd go out, play football in the yard or baseball, hockey, or whatever. Or if it was like bad weather, we'd just chill out at the house and watch MTV. Watch it at nights, the weekends. In the mornings, my mom went to work before I even got on the school bus. So I had like 30 minutes in the morning to watch MTV. So big MTV kid. It shaped who I am today, and it shaped who I was as a metal fan. So these are the albums that I was listening to back in those days, like 83, 84, all the way to 85. So first one is Wasp's debut record. Came out August 17th, 84. Just self-titled Wasp. I love this album. I Want to Be Somebody is one of my all-time favorite songs in any genre of metal. I just love it. Great record, but this was kind of the one as a kid, like a lot of us growing up, I was in Catholic school at the time. Like we were kind of afraid to really like say we liked it. I mean, look at the guys in the back. I mean, out of all the hair bands, I kind of think these guys are the cheesiest looking. I mean, look at this cat right there, But, good stuff, really good stuff. But Wasp, what did it stand for? We are sexual perverts. That's what everybody in my schools, like, that was it. Like, we figured it out. I don't remember who it came up with or how right or wrong it was, but that's what we said Wasp stood for. And I can remember they were, like, amongst the bands that, like, the whole like Tipper Gore thing. She didn't like these guys, which made me like him even more. But yeah, the whole like, you know, Animal Fuck Like a Beast would come later. But this was the first one I had. Videos on MTV, obviously watched it. It was really cool stuff. And I actually picked this one up like a couple of years ago. I had the cassette tape growing up. This one was pretty cool. I was able to get it, right? So check this out. It's the merchandise form. Right there, you can order all your merch, you fill out what you want, you cut it out, send it to the address there, written here, and you send it in, you get your merch. Couldn't make it to the concert or whatever, couldn't go to the mall and buy stuff, you could send away for the merch. Here's the inner sleeve, it's pretty good condition. There we go. Actually, it's not in good condition at all, really. There's the record right there, pretty cool. And like I said, I just got to see Wasp for the very first time the day after Thanksgiving up in Atlanta with Armored Saint. Phenomenal show. Both bands put on a great performance. Really had a good time. Saw they're going to be doing the tour in Europe. So I'm really looking forward to them maybe coming back because I've been following their social media and they're really excited about, you know, the turnout, selling out all those shows and just the fans turning out to see them. And really think they're going to do another leg maybe after Europe, so hopefully. Anyway, Wasp, debut record, awesome. So the next one was Ozzy's Blizzard of Oz. Now, I don't really like calling Ozzy a hair band, but I mean, he was on MTV. I dug him. I really didn't know he was in Black Sabbath till way later, but debut record from Ozzy, Blizzard of Oz, came out March 27th, 1981. This one I actually heard on the radio before seeing it on MTV, like quite a long ways before seeing it on MTV. So it's got the Rolling Stones record store, the Chartbusters right here. My good buddy VK knows all about that. Here's the record right here on Jet Records. I've had this copy for quite a while, and I don't really recall where I got it, but shrink wrap's still on. There's no inner sleeve at all. And it's in pretty good condition. So Ozzy's debut album, debut solo record, Blizzard of Oz. Awesome record. The whole thing front to back is just badass. It's one of the best records of all time in heavy metal. I love it. I was listening to it a lot as a kid. Obviously, Crazy Train, Mr. Crowley were my favorites on the record. And just, you know, having a little Ozzy t-shirt going into school, which I could only wear on Fridays because I was a Catholic school and a friggin' uniform. Next record I want to talk about is probably one of the quintessential 80s glam hair band albums of all time. When you think of 80s hair bands, you don't have to think that long until you get to these guys. It's Rat's albums Out of the Cellar. Came out February 17th, 1984. I distinctly remember MTV playing Round and Round like literally twice an hour, and then maybe like twice a day you'll get the video Back for More, which featured Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue in that video, which is really cool as well. Awesome record. Picked this one up a couple years ago at a used store in Noonan, Georgia. No inner sleeve, just their album. But just awesome record. Lack of Communication, Round and Round, Back for More. God, there's so many great songs on this thing. And actually never seen Rat before. I have seen Stephen Pearcy do the solo concert with like a bunch of young dudes in the band that like were half his age. Way back, I think in 1999 or 2000, right before I moved to Georgia. Sounded great. I mean, he looked old, and hell, that was 25 years ago practically. But he sounded awesome. He just played all Rat's greatest hits, and pretty much almost this entire album was played. Love this record. Still spin this thing quite often. Probably, if you're talking just 80s hair glam metal albums, gotta be the top 5. As a band as well, gotta be the top 5 too. But so next one we'll talk about is Motley Crue's Theater of Pain. Came out June 21st, 1985. Love this album. Motley Crue was my all-time favorite band for a really, really long time. Pretty much almost all of the 80s. And I just absolutely love these guys. Like, they could do no wrong. I would read Metal Edge and Hit Parader and Circus, all like the shit they got into, and I just like idolized them even more. You know, as a little kid, just thinking that like they had all the money, all the girls, party all the time, had all the most fun. I mean, like what like 10, 11, 12-year-old kid wouldn't think that was awesome, right? But anyway, Theater of Pain. I dig this record. I've heard so many interviews over the years where the guys don't like the album. I absolutely love the record. Love mixed guitar tone on this. I feel it's like heavier. Just the guitar tone is heavier than Shout. But, you know, again, this one's pretty badass. Got the order form here. The fan club, the SIN fan club. Inner sleeves ripped pretty good, but awesome picture of the guys from that era of Theater of Pain. You know, Motley Crue kind of, you know, they were a hair, you know, glam band, but they did change their image pretty much every album. And the one after this was Girls, 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 where they basically were just biker dudes. It's a record right here, Elektra Records. Pretty cool. Love the record. Not my favorite Motley Crue album. It's probably actually, I would say, favorite Motley Crue record, Shout the Devil, then Too Fast for Love. And then I would probably say Girls, 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 then Theater of Pain, and then Dr. Feelgood. We're just talking like the quintessential Motley Crue records at this point. But yeah, cool stuff. Love this album. Big part of my life growing up, you know, like you had Smoking in the Boys' Room and Home Sweet Home with the two big videos, just like Rats Rounding Around. They got played like twice an hour practically. And, you know, the video for Smoking in the Boys' Room where like the dog does eat the guy's homework and he tells the teacher, and it's like, I remember I was, you know, 1985, I think I was like in the fifth grade, like fourth or fifth grade maybe, and I just wanted to tell my teacher my dog ate my homework. So the next album I was listening to a whole lot back in those days was Twisted Sister's Stay Hungry. Came out May 10th, 1984. And I remember I actually bought this one at the same record store that I bought the cassette tape was. I actually had this for quite a long time. Bought it like, it says a $25 price tag on there, but I got it for $2. It was in the bargain bin, and it was probably, I'd say like 1997, 1998, and way back in 1984, I got the cassette tape from the same record store that I got the record from. But anyway, so Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry, awesome. We all know the music videos, We're Not Gonna Take It, and I Wanna Rock, and The Price. Great album. It's another flawless 80s metal record. Didn't really know Twisted Sister, back when this thing came out and I was listening to it a lot. I didn't know they had any other albums. I didn't listen to the radio a ton back then, just because we listened, you know, whenever I was out in the car with people, we listened to tapes. And, you know, it's kind of rare to listen to the radio. So they weren't playing on MTV. I really didn't know about it. So I can't imagine my surprise when I'm going through the record bin and I see the cassette tapes from their earlier releases. But anyway, Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. Love the record. It's one of my all-time faves. And back in those days, I was listening to it pretty much nonstop. So kind of getting down to the last couple, and these two mean a whole lot to me. This next one is Van Halen's 1984. Came out January 9th, 1984. Awesome record. This is my introduction into Van Halen with the Jump video. Seeing it on MTV one night at a friend's house, being completely blown away. And then, of course, the Panama video and Hot for Teacher video, which, you know, as a kid, 1984, I was 9. So seeing the girl in the bikini in the Hot for Teacher video, that was kind of nice. So anyway, I felt a little weird. But anyway, awesome record. Love this thing. Not a skippable track on the record. Some of the more deeper tracks, in my opinion, are some of the best Van Halen tunes ever. You know, stuff that just wasn't always played on the radio, like Drop Dead Legs, Top Jimmy, songs like that. Absolutely love this record. And like I said, it was what got me into Van Halen. And, you know, they kind of hair band-y, not like glam by any stretch of the imagination. You know, Dave maybe a little bit, but the rest of the guys, they just had long hair. They were just long-haired rockers from like the late 70s, really. But like, awesome, just great album. A little different from the hair bands I was listening to, which I thought was kind of neat. And, you know, you could have this cassette tape with the baby, and if you put your hand on the cassette tape, so if you put your hand over the cigarettes, it looked like an innocent tape. So like teachers didn't really like ask what that was. You know, not like this one or anything, they'd see this and freak the hell out, especially in Catholic school. So the last one I want to talk about today is my all-time favorite Motley Crue record, my all-time favorite band, Motley Crue, growing up when I was younger, not anymore, but they were for a long time. So Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil, came out September 26, 1983. Like I said, I featured this album in my Origins to Heavy Metal story back like a year and a half ago. It's the gatefold version. The guys right there. Got this cassette tape a long time after it was released because my mom didn't want to buy it for me because it said Shout at the Devil, and she was afraid of what they looked like on the cover. So I had to wait until I went down to Georgia to visit my dad, and, you know, divorced parents, man. Like, you know, they kind of, if any of you have grew up with divorced parents, you don't talk about. My dad wanted to make me happy. He's like, oh, what do you want? You know, let's go to the mall. You know, I want Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, it's awesome. And, all right. He buys it for me, right? So, but anyway, this album's awesome. You know, Looks That Kill video was great. Too Young to Fall in Love video. It was like years before I actually saw it. I knew it existed. Nobody was able to see it. But it's my favorite album growing up. But anyway, like I said, with my Origins to Heavy Metal video, I told the story. Anyway, I was in Catholic school. This thing had come out, and the kid had it in his boombox playing it before school. It was not like anything I've ever heard before. The song that was being played was actually Looks That Kill. And I just was enthralled by it. I asked him who it was. He had a hat. It was like a painter's hat with Motley Crue and then the pentagram logo. And he just took off his hat and showed me the hat. Didn't even tell me the name of the band. He was like, look at it. And I was like, Motley Crue. I memorized it and had the little dot things above, you know, the O and the U. And I was like, went back home and I was like, Mom, this Motley Crue is my favorite band. And then it came on MTV and like they blew up. You know, as you guys know, they blew up, and I was never able to get the cassette tape, like I said, until I went down to Georgia to visit my dad. But awesome when I did. I played that thing nonstop. Love it. To this day, I freaking love this. I remember when Guitar Hero came out. I'm not a big video game dude, but when it came out, I got it because it had Shout at the Devil on there. I just played the shit out of that thing. Anyway, love it. Awesome record. Flawless 80s. I hate calling it glam band because I didn't think they were glam at this time. They were just like sleaze, drug-addicted shitbag metal. I love it, though. It's freaking awesome. Still to this day, I play it all the time. It's a great record. So there you have it. Those are the 7 records I grew up listening to in the early years of me being a heavy metal fan. Part 2 for this series will come soon. This video's kind of running long. I didn't really mean for that to happen, but I'm looking forward to part 2. Should be pretty cool. Similar, more of the same. Part 3, we're going to start branching into thrash and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Hope you dig this series. I might do it like every handful of videos or whatever. So anyway, hit that like, subscribe if you don't mind. I really appreciate it. And find me on Instagram, Headbangers Closet. I'm always posting pictures of my collections, shit like that. And I love talking to you guys and seeing y'all's collection as well. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I will have another one for you soon. Cheers, dudes.